There we go. Welcome. Welcome back, everybody. It's really exciting to be back together. We took a little bit of a break for our families to celebrate over the holidays and for my family to make a really big move to Nova Scotia from Ontario. And now we are settling into our new house. So this is my new office space, and I'm excited to be back having these conscious conversations with my beautiful soul sisters, Natalie and Julie. And we're back for episode 22. And today, what we're going to be talking about in this episode is the most conscious thing that we can do as parents is being present and loving in as many now moments as possible. And so I'm excited to dive into this topic. If it's your first time tuning in, hello, welcome. We're happy you landed here, and it's definitely not an accident that you would have landed here. My name is Angie. I'm the creatrix of Journey to Soul. It's my business. It's my passion. It's me, really. It's what it is. And what I love to do is empower people to create the life they want. I'm living it right now. I'm living that creation that creating a life that I didn't think was possible for me. And here I am living it. And so I'm really dedicated to helping people create those visions and hold the space for them as they do. And part of doing this is having conversations about it so that we know what's possible, so we can reflect for each other. I believe when we have conscious conversations, we allow ourselves to see reflections of ourselves that maybe we don't know yet, right? And so that's my joy of bringing people together to have these conversations because we see ourselves in other people. And Julie, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Julie, and I'm a mother of two boys, 11 and 13. And I guess who I am is just someone who is a mission soul on earth to embody love, infinite and unconditional love, and to set that example for my children because I want my children to love themselves, and to share what I've learned through this journey over the past 15 years or so of learning to love myself, because it's something that our society has been really programmed against. I find a lot of people don't understand the concept or haven't experienced it as much as I have, because I've dedicated myself to this. And the reason I've dedicated myself to this is to become a better parent for my children, because I realized I was not caring for and loving myself. I then was taking it out on my children. That clicked one day, and I was like, this is not okay. This is not who I am. So, yeah, I'm just someone who loves to share love. And I pray that it helps others love themselves a little bit more. And yeah, that's who I am. So,
Natalie.
Natalie.
Hello, guys. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I'm always careful starting any sentences with I am, right? But the people in my life experience right now include my husband, my kids, our cats, my coworkers, and I just really, and obviously Angie and Julie here, um, and I just really love sharing this awakening experience that I'm going through, whether that's through behavior that I just display to others, conversations that I have, things that I share in my writing, in my book. And again, this is just another outlet to mirror ourselves to each other, right? To have these deeper conversations. And it always reveals something that we can put into action now, right?
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah, it's very revealing.
Mm-hmm.
We always walk away with something, something new to consider.
Yeah.
And new tools. I love that I walk away with new tools to practice in my life
Yeah.
and see how they work, right? Or tools that I've put aside for a while. It's like, oh yeah, I used to do that. I would like to add that to my life again, because we are
Yeah,
always creating our life, right?
yeah, definitely. And so,
So,
yeah, today's topic is so fitting with what you were saying in your introduction, Julie. Like, you know, it's true. Like, we want to be better parents. And I feel like that is often what I speak to other mothers about. And that's what leads them on this sort of journey, right? Is of healing and self-development, whatever it is, right? It's like we want to do better for our children. And I think you really hit the nail on the head in the what happens is you start to understand that it starts with you. It starts with you. And so in order to be present and loving with your children in as many moments as possible, it starts with being present and loving with yourself. Because when you're
absolutely.
not, you're projecting it. You're just projecting what you're feeling and what you're, the unloving feelings you might be having towards yourself onto our children, and not just our children, to our spouses or anybody else who's in their household.
Exactly, because what we're creating internally is what we're expressing externally, right? So that's why it's so important to be mindful of what we are creating internally. And a lot of that has to do with what we're bringing into our bodies and our minds. Because as we know, what we focus on grows. So if we're focusing on all these challenges, we are going to be faced with more challenges. The universe is just saying, oh, you want challenges? Okay, here you go, right? If we start focusing on self love and gratitude, the universe is like, oh, you want more love and gratitude? Here you go. And that's reflected in our life. So learning to become mindful and then loving ourselves in those mindful moments really helps to, well, I've experienced change the complete dynamic of my family, and it can be in a heartbeat, right? Because it all starts with the perspective. And the perspective we have internally is then not only creating our external environment, but it's also creating our energy field, right? So, as conscious people, we know we have an energy field and we are constantly interacting with everyone and everything's energy field around us. So, when we walk into a room, and I think Angie, we were discussing this not long ago, we discuss it often, but we can hold our own energy or we can take on the energy of the room, right?
Yes,
A
we
lot
can
of us
hold our own
identify.
energy and impact others
Right. Or we can take on their energy and it will
and impact
impact
us.
us. Right. So when we're in a place of self love and gratitude and joy, we bring that energy. We're not, the other energies don't seem to overtake us. The same as if we're in a place of, you know, anger, frustration, self depreciation, lower vibrating energies. It's like the higher we vibrate our energy, the um, the easier it is almost to repel those lower energies or not have them just take us over as energetic beings. But for me, it always comes back to learning self love. And in doing that with my family, like I said, it can change in a heartbeat. If I walk away and take care of my energy and my internal thoughts, my body, my mind, and come back, the whole family dynamic is completely different than if I'm in a place of frustration and overwhelm, right? Every
Yeah,
dynamic, every interaction we have, whether it's with a living being or an inanimate object, is different when we're putting out that energy. So
it's
I've been
interesting.
taking a lot of time. Oh, go ahead.
It's just interesting what you're saying because I totally know that dynamic. I'm sure Natalie's had the experience too, right? Of if we engaged while we're frustrated and overwhelmed, it creates more frustration and overwhelm. Right? And if
Yes.
we step away, whatever's going on out there, it doesn't even matter what the story is of what's going on out here with the family and whatever interactions are happening. But if you have that moment, because that's the thing, you have a now moment where your power is, and you have a moment that you're
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to be part of this. I want to bring love, but I'm going to step away. and I'm going to surround myself with love. I'm going to stand in my light and hold it. I'm going to hold this energy, fill it with love. I love all of us because we're all human, all just human. And I'm going to walk back into that room, and I'm not going to engage. I'm just going to hold love. It will change everything.
It's It absolutely does. And you're reminding me that the beginning of this journey, I mean, it's taken a lot of steps to get to that point of actually doing the energetic work quickly and in the moment, right? So, like you were saying, it's about breaking the pattern in the moment. And the beginning of my journey, which I've shared many times, was breaking the moment by stepping outside into the cold to snap me back into this now moment. Because I would realize my challenge with my children and what brought me to learning to take care of myself was that I would get angry and I would feel even enraged with my children, but it wasn't my children that was bothering me. It was my relationship. It was my relationship with myself. And I would go from 0 to 100. I would suddenly be yelling at my children, and I didn't even know how I got there. But it was all the internal turmoil that was exploding out onto them, right? But so at that moment, when that was my constant go to and reaction, I wasn't able to just step away and take some breaths and then put myself into the loving energy and so on. I had to stop that pattern for a long time first. And just stepping out with bare feet, like into the snow, would give me enough time to stop that pattern, and it would shock my body enough to bring me back to the present moment, and I could breathe for a minute, and I would be like, oh, this is not what I want to be doing. And then through going to counseling, I was suggested to start writing down some things. So I would write down, and then I'd be able to come back, and it would only take a couple minutes. But I was able to come back into that place with love now for my children and a better understanding of what was happening to me. Because, well, a topic that we will be discussing that was just brought up by one of you is about suppressing, what is it? What we resist persists, right? So, it starts with really breaking the pattern, and then we can create so many wonderful, loving things for ourselves in those few moments that we break the pattern and take time for ourselves. And really, it can start with 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes.
It's true. We interrupt the pattern and we create space.
Right.
And the more and more we do this, we interrupt the pattern, the space gets a little bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right. And then we choose what to put in that space, right? And that's the beautiful, loving part. Like you were saying, now we can walk away from these chaotic environments and we can just take some breaths and we can, bring the light and the love into our body and know that this is our intention moving forward. And then we walk back in and we can hold that energy. But it starts with the small steps, and we can build up to that. Or who knows, maybe you can do that right away. That, we're each individual and unique. Yeah, so true. But that was my experience, starting with small steps, taking those small breaks, and then learning how to love myself in those small breaks. So bringing that back to our children too, I've been taking the time to intentionally sit with my children because I know this time together, sharing each other's thoughts and feelings and just time is the most valuable thing that we can do. Our time together is the most precious thing that we have to offer, right? So, and it's been bringing some wonderful experiences with us, and we've talked previously about, the teen years, and now I have a 13-year-old, and I am just loving how it's unfolding. Not like those negative programs of like, the teens and the attitude and this and that. And there is definitely attitude that I see. I'm not saying that there's no attitude that I see, but we're able to address it and understand where it's coming from and discuss it and deal with it in the present moment rather than suppressing it and it becoming a big thing.
And that's the evidence of the work that you've done. It's the evidence of the work that you've done that in the like, I love that you're saying this, the attitude's still there. It's there. Mm-hmm. It's not there.
Yes.
But what you choose to focus on is what grows. So if you choose, you're able to choose because you've created this space for yourself to be able to choose love.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you for that reflection. That makes my heart so happy because
Mm.
it is true, you know? It's our intentions. What are our intentions behind everything that we can always go back to? And my intentions absolutely are love and being a safe, loving space for my children to come to and talk about and just feel the comfort and the love that I have for them and talk about whatever they feel the need to talk about. And sometimes those things can be challenging to hear, and sometimes those things can be really boring. But I find the excitement for them in the fact that my child, who I absolutely adore and helped create and am sharing this life with, enjoys this. So then I start to find interest in it more and more. Like, what do you find interesting about it is what's going on in my head. But, previously I could have been sitting there like, I just really don't want to hear this again. But yeah, creating more love for myself and all parts of myself help
That,
me, again, hold that space for my children to love all parts of them.
love that. Natalie, what do you think?
So I love everything you said, Julie. Um, so what's like a big thing of again and again, you mentioned this, right? Everything that we want to change externally, we can't go and make someone more present. We can't go and make someone um like happy, right? Because that's kind of the programming that we have of, I want to feel better, I want to be happier in this life, so I need to go outside of myself, make this person
Make that
happy,
person
so
Oh,
that our
yes.
relationship feels better, so that I can be happy with myself, right? So we kind of have everything like ass backwards here. It's you got to look within, right? Like what, um, like how to really find happiness within yourself, because sometimes it can be like sometimes it feels like we're faking it, right? And sometimes it can feel like we're faking it for a long time. And it's like, hey, like how to get past that obstacle. So what
Mm.
I've discovered is kind of the flip side of happiness is judgment, right? Like self-judgment in this instance, because we got to start internally. So it's self-judgment. And I noticed this when, you're having a conversation with someone and you're hanging out with other people and or hell even like other animals, right? Just other beings, and you're judging them, right? There's a thought
Mm.
towards that person of, um, oh my god, they're doing this again, or oh, this is so annoying. So you're judging them, right? That's a judging thought. But then turn that around and just look like, what am I? There's when you're judging someone,
You're
it's
judging
because you're judging
something
something
first.
about yourself first. There's always something, and
Absolutely.
maybe you don't even see it, right? But just bring that curiosity of like, oh, like I'm judging my spouse here. What what is this trying to reflect in me? Like there's a part of me that I'm judging myself about in this moment. Maybe it has nothing to do with your spouse, but there's like a link. There's like an energetic link, right, to that external judgment. There's an energetic link to your internal judgment, your self judgment, right? So just bringing curiosity to that, and I find as you bring curiosity into that, you're really breaking down that judgment, right? So instead of when you're having a conversation with someone, um, and I don't know, they're talking about sports and like it's really not your thing. Instead of being like, oh, this is so boring, just try and bring some curiosity into it, right? And even internal curiosity of like, oh,
Why am I
why do I
thinking
have this story in myself that sports is boring,
Yeah.
right? And then it just shifts everything, right? Because you're again that energetic strand from judgment to that external judgment and internal judgment. When we bring light into that, it just like it shifts like the field that we're in, right? The
yes?
reality that we're in. And that's how you really start manifesting. Like that's what it kind of looks like. Like if you were to like see it with your third eye, that's really what it is. It's just you're literally lighting up those vibrational links, right?
That's what I love it. Oh my God. It makes me think of what Julie said about when we're learning to love ourselves and be present and loving with ourselves. That's huge what you're talking about because she said, Julie, you said loving all parts of us. Because if we love all parts of us, right, then we're able to hold for all parts of another person. Right. And so this is like directly linked to what you're saying, Natalie, about the self-judgment. It's the reflection of your judging thought to someone else is actually a reflection of a part of you that still
Yeah.
needs love.
And that's what I want
Absolutely.
people to see, right? Like this is how you should kind of look at your life experience, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, just change that point of view, right? And everything changes.
And it
Like
shifts the
Dr. Dyer
energy
says,
immediately.
right? Yeah. When you change the way you look at things, everything you look at changes.
Yeah. And
That is
that's why
so
it
true.
shifts. That's why it shifts
Yeah,
because
exactly.
once
That's
you
how it
shift the
happens.
energy in you, then that lesson's no longer needed. That thought is no longer needed. And guess what? I This is how I feel it happens. Like then now that the energy is gone, you've shifted the energy, and now that person that's with you, whoever it might be, is your child, your spouse, whoever, right? That person that's with you no longer feels the need to display that behavior anymore. And so what happens is it just shifts. They get
Yeah,
inspired
because
with a
you
new
shifted out of
thought.
that energetic field.
So they shift now.
Yeah.
There's this thing within the energetic field. It's like certain energies just don't mix and can't come together. And when we can hold our energy, there's certain energies that just don't get near us and they don't touch
Yes.
us. And that's why
That's how we create safety.
love is such a safety. Exactly. It's such a protection. So in this world, we're really have been programmed to build up walls, to harden our heart, to get tougher, as a safety mechanism. And that's what's kept a lot of us feeling safe for so long. But when we can actually be vulnerable and share love, we are so much safer and so much more protected because these lower vibrations just
Just
don't
can't
come
get
near
near it.
us. They can't. It's magical what can happen and how safe we can feel once we get past the uncomfortable feelings of opening up and bringing down those walls, being vulnerable, and just being transparent and showing all parts of ourselves. That's part of loving all parts of ourselves, right? Sometimes we want to hide these away. Um, Natalie was saying something earlier about, how the happiness or I don't know exactly how you said it can seem fake sometimes, like you're bringing that fake energy. And that's something that I've had to learn within my family and learn how healthy it is to show people we have a range of emotions. We're not just a mask of happiness and joy all the time. We're human and we experience these low, dark, deep, heavy thoughts, feelings, emotions, and showing my family that I'm crying or that I'm sad and that's okay is so healthy. It's not something that we've experienced before now. It seems like till our generation, it was always, put those tough feelings
Sweep it under
aside.
the rug.
But
Sweep it
that's
under the rug.
part of being present with our
Yeah.
children as well. We're not going to be cheerful and happy all the time. We're going to feel like crap sometimes, and that's okay. And what I've learned to do to be loving in those moments is make choices that are not harmful to myself, anyone around me, or my environment. So, like I said before, I had challenges with rage and anger. So, my children would see me feeling these lower vibration, heavier feelings, and suddenly they'd see me yelling, they'd see me throwing something, they'd see me getting angry, you know? That's not what I wanted to show them. I wanted to show them how to be loving of that part of themselves in the moment. So now they'll see me take a break, walk away, say, I need time. I need a timeout, was where that really started. I need a timeout right now because my emotions are going wild and I don't know how to express myself in a healthy way, right? And even now, taking time away from those moments when it's chaotic and just bringing my energy back. That's what I'm doing. I'm caring for my own energy in those moments. So really learning how to express ourselves and go through those tough emotions in a loving, no harm way has been another way that I've tried to be present with my children, but not put on that mask like, oh, I'm just fine, help them to experience it. And that just conversation just went way all over the place. So I don't even know where I started or
No, I
exactly
think
what
it
my
was
point was, but
I think it's a really good point though, because that is being conscious and present. Like you
Wow.
can't be present all the time if you're just being happy. You're not present all the time then,
right.
because life isn't, it isn't one state.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Happiness is actually a state of mind.
Yes.
And the point is, the whole point of this, guys, is not to be in a certain state of mind. Like, there's not one state of mind that's better than the other. Uh, like there's a Star Wars example. There's no like light or dark side of the Force. It's just like, what side of the Force are you using right now, right? Like, what? So, like, happiness is a state of mind. Okay, can you be aware that you're happy? Because that's actually being present when you can see what mindset you're in. Because if you're seeing the mindset, you know that you're like a happiness, for example, you notice that you're happy. Well, the fact that you're noticing that you're happy means that you are not actually happy. You're the awareness behind it that's aware of it, right? So like you were saying, Julie, like the different ranges of emotion, like, yeah, like you're in a human body, you're going to feel the emotion of anger or sadness or frustration or joy, right? That's just kind of part of your makeup. But can you be aware of it, right? And then again, you're
And
just bringing
loving.
presence into that anger or sadness or like WTF-ness of it, right? Um, and that's like, you want to be more present with your kids, you got to be more present with yourself. Like, literally, like, how are you feeling right now? Maybe you're feeling confused, maybe you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, but can you be aware of that confusion, right?
And can you love yourself in it? Like, can you be aware that I'm confused at what Natalie's saying, but, and I don't like it, it's uncomfortable, and I love myself anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
because accepting is loving, right?
absolutely, and that's where we are then able to hold that same space for our
For
children
other
in
people.
those moments,
That's
right?
how
And
we
other
grow
people,
compassion.
exactly.
It's how we grow
Hmm.
compassion because we recognize it within us. If we can recognize and love it within us, then our heart, the wall, like the dissolving of the walls around the heart, it just naturally happens. And now when we see someone else suffering, we can have compassion for them and we can hold loving space for them.
And this is really bringing up to me so much of it is just choosing the patterns that we want. We're so programmed and to do the same patterns over and over again and keep ourselves busy or keep ourselves in fear. I mean, that's what the outside programming has us doing. So becoming present is really learning how to break those patterns if that's what we choose, being mindful of what we are in the present moment, and then what do we want to choose? Is this what we want to be doing? So when Natalie was talking about, I loved when she was talking about judgment, when we're placing judgment on others and how we're judging ourselves. And it brought me back to when I used to judge others because I was judging myself. And I had a lot of body issues. Like I had a lot of eating disorders and body dysmorphia and all of that. So I would look at people and I would judge them because I was judging myself. And to stop that pattern and break that pattern, I chose to, every time I would have a judgmental thought about something else, someone else, or something else, I would turn it into a loving thought, something that I liked about them, something that I liked about So that's how I disrupted that pattern and changed it. So now when I look at people, that's all I'm seeing all the time is like, what do I love about that person? Oh, I love that. Oh, that's fantastic. Rather, ooh, I like that. And in turn, I am no longer judging myself the way I used to judge myself. I used to have a constant dialogue of self judgment. And I guess maybe it was kind of a pressure release for me to be able to judge someone else for once. Maybe that's
Yes.
what was going on. I don't know. um, but yeah, by changing that dialogue, disrupting that pattern, I then was able to love myself even more. So,
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's going to be my invitation to people for this episode is, uh, you know, look at how you can reprogram your responses. Just like that
mm-hmm.
perfect example you gave us, Julie, right? That's essentially what you did. You still had a thought towards that person,
Yes.
but instead of being like, oh my God, like, I don't know, she's so fat or whatever, be like, oh my God, I love that purse, right? Like, I love the
Exactly.
purse that person's had, or she has the most beautiful smile, or like, oh my God, those
Exactly.
sunglasses are so fun. Like, whatever it is. So you're still projecting a thought. So you're still doing that same action. It's just the
Yep.
vibration of it is totally different, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And the vibration between myself and others completely changed, right? Like I noticed myself looking people in the eye and smiling at them and giving them a compliment and all the beautiful connections that come from just reprogramming my thought is absolutely amazing because we are reflections of each other. So I'm holding that mirror reflection for others of what's beautiful in them, you know? So rather than what is, what they don't like about themselves. So it completely
Yeah. Yeah.
changes
Exactly.
everything. Um, yeah, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience, and we all have the power to do it. But it takes being mindful and being present. And I guess I would just like to ask people if they would like to take a couple minutes, even a couple minutes of day, and put aside absolutely everything, any responsibilities and expectations, um, and just be present with themselves and or their children. Um, for me, it started with breathing. Like I said, I was so reactive at one point that I needed external, like coldness, to snap me out of my head and out of that dialogue and emotion and that energy. But also, you can use ice as well. So if you're not in a cold place, you can use ice, put it on your head, hold it in your hand until it's so cold you can't think of anything else but that ice. I'm telling you, your brain will have to think about that ice. Put it
Yeah.
on the
Yeah. Yeah.
back
I
of
was
your
gonna say,
neck.
thank goodness we live where there's snow, right? I love going in the snow barefoot. Like,
Oh, me too.
man, there's nothing like it. Yeah. Yeah. It just like pulls you into the present, right?
It does.
Like as if like there was like a rope or something. It just like, oh, like it yanks
Like,
you
hello,
down.
you are
Yeah.
here. You are not
Yeah.
your
Yeah. Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah.
You're not your
Intense
thoughts.
grounding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not in the future. You're not in the past. You are here and now. And that is where our
Yeah.
personal power is. So if you can take some
Yeah.
time to be present with yourself, um, that is a beautiful, beautiful gift and can help you in turn become present with your children if that's what you desire, or your partner, whoever you want to connect with. Um, so, another little tip to that as well that I've learned over years of experience is taking care of any expectations I have beforehand. So, if I know I'm going to sit there with my children and be constantly thinking about the mess around us, I'm not going to be present. I like to have a clean, open space to be with my children. Maybe you don't, and that's fine. Whatever fits you, right? So what I learned was I have to take some time to clean up that mess first, and that will help me be more present. Maybe it's some book work that you have to do. If there's something that's going to be on your mind in the background all the time, that's not really being present. Um,
Declutter, right? Like kind of
oh,
declutter that space where you'll be where you're expecting to be present. Like, maybe you sit at like the window seat or whatever.
yeah,
can you like decluttering either that physical area or, like you said, like that
Your
non-physical
mental.
area, right? That thought, yeah, or
Yep.
that task that you have to do.
Absolutely. And at first, sometimes maybe I wouldn't have time to clean the whole room or do all of these things, but I still wanted to be present in the moment. So I would really take time to work with the energy of the room. So I would put on, diffuse some essential oils, put on some peaceful music. I wanted to create the energy before we were in it to help bring a mindful space. Because, like, if I'm listening to Pantera and the place is a mess and, um, whatever else, I'm writing something and I'm bringing the kids in to be mindful, I'm going to be a little distracted with that, loud
Yeah,
music.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so I would change it to something peaceful, something nice.
yeah.
So yeah, this
Well, we
next,
kind of went off on a tangent,
yeah.
but again, just okay. So again, I'm just going to repeat my invitation to everyone for this week is, can you reprogram your response, right? Like again and again, instead of thinking something negative towards someone, um, like, oh my God, she's so ugly or whatever, can you change your response to something more positive, right? Like, oh, I really like that car that she's driving. Or her purse is so nice. Like, whatever it is, just think of something positive, and then that's reprogramming your response, um, which can get us out of that judging habit, right?
Absolutely. And mine was, can you take a few moments for yourself to be present, and loving to yourself, and or with your children. If you to do yourself first, do yourself. If you can do your children, do your children. But really being present in the moment and not having everything else going on in the background. Put it aside for just a few moments. Know that it'll be okay, and do what you need for yourself, or take time to really engage mindfully with your children.
I thank you. I
You're
had
welcome.
to step away and I just had a real life example of what we're talking about. And I want to cry right now because I'm having a hard time. The judging thoughts are coming up um from the interruption and what happened and what's happening right now. And so it's so interesting that it happens live on this recording, right? And so the information that we talked about, like about the judging thought, is something within me, is something for me to look at now. And so I will take your invitations, ladies, myself. And it'll be interesting to, come back in the live chat to listen to this recording episode and see what transpired from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So thank
love
you.
you so much.
Love
Yeah.
I'm sending you so
Thank you
much
for
love
tuning
in this
in, guys.
challenging. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we hope that you'll take away, we pray that you take away and one little nugget of wisdom and or a tool that can help you be conscious and present and loving with yourself and your children. All right, until next week.
See you later.